Hello, my name is Cheryl. I am the founder of an online fashion magazine called MidLife Rises. I linked it with this talk show, and what the talk show really does is it gives us a chance to cover womanly topics. I mean, things that men are having too, but it's a woman's talk show, so we will be focusing more on women. We cater to women 40 and over, and I don't have to tell you that this is the time where things start to get a little crazy, where we start to question things about our lives, our status, and so on. So before we jump into the fashion aspect of it, we're spending a lot of time on emotional stuff. And for a good reason. Again, because women get hammered around this time. You know, with society, I mean, we grind our own selves into the ground. So this is a way to offer emotional support, to give hope and inspiration to this group. Now I'm giving you this environment so that it'll be more relaxed, because I'm gonna sit here and literally try to cover certain things that we deal with in our midlife. So the show and the magazine are designed to give women the hope and inspiration that they need to stay healthy physically and mentally, because it is a big challenge. You talked about emotional intelligence. I went and I got a psychologist from my school so we could talk about how we deal with aging and what kind of effect it takes and how it's different for men in that sense. So I wanted to sit and kind of go over the stumbling blocks as we go along, because it's a lot. First, let's talk about friendship. Friendship, you know, for me, I'm seeing the women that I knew from years ago, from in high school, and one or two that I've known from my native island, which is Trinidad. And it's very hard to stay friends now. You're seeing people that you knew years ago, and yet you can't maintain that friendship. And it's very sad. We don't like to face the facts, but guess what's causing that problem? It is envy and jealousy and competitiveness, and that is why we spent so much time on the channel talking about emotional intelligence, because that stuff has to do with your emotions. And it is very hard to control that if you're not aware of it. Like, a lot of people will tell you, well, you know, I'm not jealous. I don't envy people. But they do. A lot of them, that is the exact problem that they're having, and they're not aware of it because they haven't taken the time to understand exactly what it is that drives them. That's why so much time was spent on that emotional intelligence piece. So when you get a chance, you know, take a look at that. We've got some readings on the website, and it is all covering stuff like this, because that emotional stuff, it's not just jealousy, it's anxiety, which I myself sometimes have, but it's because of those racing thoughts and going ahead of yourself, and it's all about control, the way you take care of yourself, the drugs, the alcohol, the cigarettes, all of these things. It all has to do with finding that balance. And so it all intertwines, the emotions and, you know, just being aware of yourself and your surroundings, because it affects the way you take care of yourself, the way you deal with other people. You know, it's a full circle. So that's one of the things that, you know, we spent a lot of time on, because in midlife, it's very hard to find that balance. And then we have ones that are running after the material things. Now, I like nice things. We all should. You know, we're here to live the American dream. But what are you willing to do to give up? Are you willing to give up your health for it? Are you willing to give up your self-respect? That, again, has to do with emotional intelligence. You know, knowing how far you want to go. Are you living above your means? And the reason behind it, is it because you really want it, need it? We talk about going after the American dream for happiness, but I learned that it's happiness that brings the American dream. It's my profession. I mean, I started out in my modeling career. That's what I guess most women or girls, you know, when you're growing up, that's what we want to do. But it's only a handful of us that actually follow that all the way through. And for me, I always liked business. So once I realized what was coming with being in fashion, I decided to gear more to, business and that kind of thing. But I don't want to get off track here. Where I was going with that is I have a lot of different professions that I do. And I do that just to keep myself enthused. I feel like you should have more than one thing going on. Sometimes, it seems like it's a bad thing, but I keep myself, how should I say, I kind of work with my psychic satisfaction. I have a few things that I like doing because I like to challenge myself. Not that I get bored, but I want to just see how far I could drive myself. And when you get into, your late 40s and you're hitting your 50s, you're looking at the other half of your life. So rather than look at things like midlife crisis and stuff, it's like our show, Midlife Rises. So you find what you're about. You find what strikes your match and you go after it. It's whatever you feel inside. When you get that spark, those are your dreams. That's your passion. And when you're doing something that you're passionate about, you're happy. And so that is what it's all about, to find the things that make you happy. Because when you are not happy in your life and you have constant sadness, that stuff is dangerous. Sadness for a long time, as you saw in our emotional intelligence piece, that's what brings on depression. I always examine my feelings because I'm checking to see if I'm happy. Laughing and, just feeling joyful and having the fruit of the spirit comes natural for me. Traveling and doing things that make me happy, that's what I'm about. And that's what you should be about as well. It's a lot of different things that we deal with as midlife women. Then we've got aging parents. It's different things. I mean, if your parents are still alive, your mom, your dad, what is it that they're dealing with now? For me, my mom has slight dementia. She's still coherent and she still does things independently, but it's not the same person. And it is very, very difficult. My dad is still up and running and he's in his 80s, approaching 90s. He won't tell us. But we know that he's working his way to 90 and he's still flying around and enjoying life as he should. My mother, on the other hand, is different. She used to be an amazing seamstress, and now she's not doing any kind of sewing. She barely remembers how to set up the machine. So she's just doing things like cooking, and it's hard. It is really, really hard, and it's sad. Some of my siblings are not dealing with it at all. Like, they want to remember her as she was, but it's difficult because you're looking at someone that you knew to be independent and taking care of things, and then now it's not like that. So it's a lot of different things that we as women deal with in midlife, and we all find different ways to deal with it. Some are drinking. I mean, they can't go through the day without alcohol, and it's very hard. It is very, very difficult, and you have to find your balance to cope. And it doesn't mean getting stoned or being drunk. It's going to be right there when you come to. So it's best to just learn to deal with it. Those coping skills, that's what we were trying to help you to focus on, because it's so many different things. I mean, let's put aside what society is doing and having us to feel like we're done. You're over 40, you're approaching 50, you are finished. That's not so. I'm in my 50s. I am on my way to 60. I have taken the time to learn who I am as an individual, and there is no one that can come right now and tell me otherwise. There is no reason for anyone to influence the way you feel about yourself, to make you lose your self-respect and to misunderstand what you are about. You have to know that within yourself, and that's the tone of our talk show, and that is the tone of our magazine. So you really need to hop on there, midliferises.com, because it's just, again, it is so much. It is so much. I've had some instances like, I'm single. and I would like to remarry. But until I meet someone that is matching up with me, because I don't need to find someone to make me happy. I am happy. I need to meet someone that will add to my happiness. I'm really into psychology. That's something that I was interested in from high school. That's another one of my passion. I just don't like reading those big books, why I'm not a psychologist today. But I want to talk to you about something. We have different mental issues that we deal with now, because when you don't know how to cope with what is happening in your life, it can actually interfere with your personality. I mean, I have family members and friends that I deal with now that I can tell you is definitely not the same person that they were years ago. And that stuff happens when you don't know how to cope with what's going on in your lives. I mean, I have situations and it is serious. But because I have learned and trained myself, I've been able to keep my balance, thank God. And of course, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but spirituality is also important, like your beliefs. It all intertwines. You've got to educate yourself to have your balance, because knowledge, it's power. And when you understand, like I lost 2 family members last year, and they weren't even 50, well, one wasn't even 50 years old yet. It's coping skills and the different things that's happening to us, because a lot can hit us around this time in our midlife. I mean, you're in your early 40s, you're now crossing over, but when you start going into 50, it's serious. I mean, people are dying very early now. They're not getting to the 70 and stuff. It's 55, 56, 57. Strokes and all different things are happening because of those coping skills. So we have this online fashion magazine to give you hope and inspiration and just to bloom. But it's a lot deeper than that. We want to do the fashion, we want to have fun, we want to stay sexy in our midlife, but you've got to be stable physically and mentally. And the way that happens is knowledge. There is no other way. The way you treat people, the way you take care of yourself, it all intertwines. So I started to talk about the relationships, the men in our age group, the midlife men. Years ago, it used to be we women were messed up and we have issues, but guess what? It's now happening where it's our men. It's our men. They're not coping. A lot of it has nothing to do with you. I mean, some of you women, yes, you do have issues, okay? But a big percentage are the men that we're dealing with who's not suffering from depression. They have bipolar. And even though I studied psychology, I never knew about narcissistic personality disorder. And that is rampant, ladies. I mean, you have narcissistic women, but a person with full-fledged narcissistic personality disorders, this is what happens. And see if you can identify, because if you're dealing with someone with this condition, you've got to be careful. You've got to be very, very careful. A person with narcissistic personality disorder have kind of like a parasitic state about them, where they thrive on making your life a living hell. This individual needs a supply, and that supply, guess what it is? It's hurting you. It's interfering with your emotional state. And when you're talking about your emotions, that's very dangerous, because that's your mind. You do need that. Men, women who are interacting with individuals that are suffering from this thing have to have therapy. It's very, very serious. So if you're dealing with someone that has a narcissistic personality disorder, then you need to understand how to deal with that person, because it can be very, very dangerous. The person needs to provoke you in order to feel good, and it's usually a very unhappy person. Do your research on it. It's called narcissistic personality disorder. You're the only one that will know what's happening, because their family and friends see something different. They show a different face. It goes very deep. I mean, they have different kinds of narcissists. Some are called covert. Those are not as bad. And then you have the malignant ones, which or vicious. Now, it all happens because the person needs to heighten their status. They need to impress. They have a very, very strong feeling for admiration, and they will go to all lengths, and that means discrediting you in order to get it. So it's a lot of different sicknesses that are around us, and it's happening with our men, it's happening with our family, it's happening with our friends. So it's just, we are in a very interesting time, and you have to learn how to find your balance, and that goes with educating yourself and just seeking to be happy, because a lot of different things happen when we are in our midlife. The other part that I wanted to talk about are your children. At this stage, if you do have children, you most likely have adult children. And so I just want to talk about that a little, because we try to have them as friends, and that is not something that is feasible. You cannot be friends with your children. You have to draw the line, because you still have to set that example. Like for me, I have 3 men. My youngest son is 21. It is not easy, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to let my guards down, because when you have men for children, it's a lot different, because they will challenge you. But that doesn't scare me off, because I know I need to do what I have to do as a parent, and sometimes you do have to give that tough love. It's just not possible to be friends with your children. And if you're seeing them going the wrong way, then it is your responsibility to let them know. And if it means ruining your relationship with them, then so be it, because in the long run, they'll thank you for it. It's just so much that we deal with as midlife women, that to have society come at us and tell us, well, you're done, you're over with. That's one thing that you have to fight off. But all of the other stuff with your adult children and dealing with your aging parents and finding yourself on a whole, it's a lot of different things that are coming at you. So you've got to stand your grounds. You've got to arm yourself with knowledge. There is just no other way. What about dating? If you're not married, you're obviously dating. That part for us is very interesting, because the way it's set up, even like on online dating, if you read it, it'll say something like, what you should do to keep him. It never says what you should do to keep her. We're not all messed up. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're not right. But I've trained myself, like I spend a lot of time alone. I have done a lot of experiential empathy. So I'm well-rounded, and for a reason. And so when I meet someone, or I'm considering someone for a relationship, my bars are not very high. So if you're not meeting those standards, then it's not going to work, because I am not willing to lose my self-respect. I am not willing to cut myself short to accommodate anyone. I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I want to be treated right. I want to be treated with respect. I want to be treated as the beautiful person that I am, as the person inside. I'm a good person. I watch how I'm treating people. That's important. That's very important, by the way. I put myself in other people's place, and I am not sensitive to myself, because that's the problem I think a lot of people have. Like, they're very sensitive when it has to do with them. But they said that about men on the whole, that they're not as sensitive as women are. That's the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. That's what it's covering. I myself didn't read the book, but in one of my pieces I did with the psychologist, we touched base with it a little bit. They are not as emotional as we are. Their brains are not set like that. I know what I'm about, and I am very comfortable in my skin. I am in my mid-50s. I'm on my way to 60, and I intend to do it gracefully. And this is why I need to have people in my circle, and you should too, that are interested in learning about themselves, that take time to educate themselves and to be mentally and physically stable, because that stuff can interfere with you as well. It can pull you down. I mean, if you're taking the time to learn about yourself and to grow older gracefully, Why in the world would you be bringing people in that are battling with bipolar and all these different sicknesses because they didn't take the responsibility to stay mentally stable? It's not a matter of being selfish, it's a matter of keeping yourself balanced. And you can't do that if you have messed up people all around you. It's just not possible. This is not being selfish. This is just trying to keep your balance and to take care of yourself. Because, you know, I have family members that I'm talking with them, and next thing you know, they're just flying off the deep handle, and I'm like, what is going on? That's not, you know, I mean, that's not something that is healthy. And it's your family, you love them and everything, but you've got to think about you and your balance. You know, you've got to think about you, and it's not being selfish. It's, you've got to think about you. We buried 2 family members last year. One was only 58 years old, and the other one was 48. And they went back to back. You know, when we are falling, we are like dropping in our 50s now, and I believe it's because of that knowledge thing. So, you know, the stress is real. It is very real, and to be able to cope with that is one thing, but to have to deal with all the unnecessary stuff, it's just not something that I'm willing to do. And I'm saying to you, you shouldn't either. Woman to woman, these are the things that we want to talk about. These are the things that we should be focused on, not whose house is bigger and who's driving the best luxury car. That's not what it's about. It's about keeping your balance and staying healthy physically and mentally. Being contented and gratitude for where you are and what you have is key. It's just, all of these things are important. Spirituality, we talked about that. We did a religious piece. When you understand what brings you peace, what your true find to happiness is. Look at me, for example. I look like I have $1 million. And sometimes I'm just as broke as I can be, but I'm always happy, and I'm always striving to be happy, because my wealth, my richness, it's peace and tranquility, fruit of the Spirit. That's why I take my trips when I can, because my peace and happiness, it's very important to me. And this that I do here, the talk show, it's to reach out to the ones that don't know how to find that balance. It's to just connect with the other woman, to say it is okay to get into your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. I'm not there yet. I'm on my way though. It's okay. Try to take care of yourself, and don't let anyone threaten that. The men that are in our age group or older ones, they try to make you feel that you're defective in order for you to lower your bar. Don't do it. Don't do it. Age gracefully and look for your happiness that way. Be happy within yourself first, and then find that someone to add to it. But you don't look for that someone to define you. You do that, and you will be in a lot of trouble, because what if you run into one of those narcissistic individuals? You know, you've got to stand your grounds, understand what rock you should be standing on, because that rock that I'm talking about, it will not shift. It stays sturdy. I've been married for a very long time, and I did it at a very early age. But the happiness, like, I'm not going to do a staged life. I want it to be real. I like loving and caring for the person that's in my life. I don't like to use people, because I don't want to be used. So we've covered the children, the aging parents, the siblings, the jealousy, the envy, the mental disorders. Let's talk about fashion. Are you 40 and over? Are you still dreaming of running after your passion? Don't stop. Don't stop, because you're not supposed to. Follow your heart. This talk show, there is no monetary benefits for it. I just do it because I want to reach out. I want to give back. That's also very important, by the way. Are you a woman that is 40 and over? Are you still into fashion? You getting past 40 and you're still feeling that, and you still have that look, that's a blessing. If you're one of these women, touch base with us. It's a blessing and it is not an easy thing to accomplish because a lot of things start happening when you're getting to that 4-0. So if you're there and over and you still have that look, we want to hear from you. Visit us at midliferises.com. That's our website. It's an online fashion magazine. We've been doing a lot of stuff on emotions and just life on the whole. So we've got a lot of good readings there. Offer us your support because it takes a lot to keep this thing rolling. Offer us your support, but more importantly, go onto the site and click on Contact Us and put in your information on what you're interested in. All right, and join us on Facebook and subscribe to our weekly videos. These are all inspirational stuff that's needed because when you have the know-how, you can turn yourself around. It's not easy to get at this stage and still have that light because what happens is your light starts to dimmer, but don't look at the darkness. You keep looking at the light. You keep going towards that light. Keep that shine on your face. And knowledge is what's going to help you to do that. It's a lot that we deal with, but you can do it and we're here to help. Just visit us at midliferises.com and do support the station. Support us. We want to hear what you have to offer. We've been looking for models, we're looking for social media people. Just join in with us and be part of the group where we're showing and telling because it can be done and it is being done. And your voice can be heard through us. Come in and tell your story. Keep that light going. Don't look at the darkness because a lot of times things are happening in the background for you and you don't know. Just keep the faith. For the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing a lot of fashion stuff. And then I'm from the island, so we'll be doing the Labor Day parade because that kind of mocks what we do in Trinidad for the carnival. So we'll be part of that as well. But a lot of exciting things are getting ready to take place. Tune in. We do our show every first and third Thursday of the month. Do support us and just be part of our community. We'll get you to where you want to go. All right? Thanks for spending time with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.